Hello, everyone. Welcome to Be Seen, a space where stories become mirrors and conversation becomes a way home to yourself. I'm your host, Kamsi, and I'm so excited, as per usual, for today's episode. I'm so excited. I think we're gradually coming to the end of season one of To Be Seen, and I just feel like this season has exceeded my expectations. I came into this season a lot nervous, actually, just feeling very like, okay, afraid to just put this out there. But like I said in the first trailer episode, it's something that I knew that I had to do. And I'm so glad that I did it and I'm doing it because just even seeing the responses that I've been getting from you guys, watching, listening, commenting on YouTube, sending me DMs on Instagram, just talking about how much the episodes are resonating with you and how much you feel seen and how much you are learning, it's honestly just so humbling. And it's just honestly a testament to following the spirits, like following the leading of the things that are being called out to you to do and not being afraid. Right. And, for me, like, I'm just so excited for where this journey is going to take us, but, let's get right into today's episode. So actually this episode is off the back of my last solo episode where I was talking about lessons that I've learned from my 20s. Right. And if you haven't watched that particular episode, I'm going to also link it in the description box if you're watching this on YouTube or, you can just check it wherever you're watching it or listening to this on, it's titled, Why You Feel Lost in Your 20s and What No One Tells You. So I kind of talked a little bit about how one thing I learned in my 20s was about learning to stand up for myself, assert my boundaries, not allow myself to disown myself at the expense of being liked, and on learning people pleasing, how I was such a people pleaser when I was younger. And I've learned a lot on just basically not being a people pleaser, like actually just becoming someone who is okay to assert their boundaries and to be assertive and to not just think that being agreeable meant to be good and to focus on being kind as opposed to being nice, right? And a lot of you resonated with that episode and a lot of you resonated particularly with the people-pleasing thing. And I think that a lot of us, I would say particularly women, I don't think it's only women that are prone to it, but I think women are more prone to it for several reasons. But a lot of people reached out and said like, oh my gosh, like I actually very much relate with this. I'm in this state right now, I'm in this stage. Please do another episode on people pleasing, on asserting boundaries, on all of those things. And it's something that I always planned, honestly, to do and talk about. And so when everyone was talking about or asking about doing an episode about this, I said, okay, you know what, I'm just going to do this in this season as opposed to maybe probably doing it in season 2 like I initially planned to do, since there was an interest from you. So guys, please always feel free to give suggestions for things that you like to see and to be seen, because I'm also open to talking about the things that you want to hear about and you want to learn about, as long as it aligns with obviously the ethos of To Be Seen and the things that I also align with my own journey and the things that I want to share. I would most definitely be happy to do a video about it as we go. So people pleasing it's honestly such a nuanced conversation. And while thinking about this and just reflecting on this episode and the things that I wanted to talk about, I made a couple of notes, because for me, like, my people pleasing on learning people pleasing journey, so to speak, has been, I would say, years in the making. But I can remember the earliest time when I feel like I recognized that I was a people pleaser. But obviously, I recognize it in retrospect. I didn't really recognize it or know even what people pleasing was at the time when I was doing all those things when I was much younger. And for me, it was from when I was very, very young. I literally can remember being like maybe 5-6 years old and having to go to the salon, right, with my mom. And I think that then I used to relax my hair. My hair is natural now, as you can see. But having to relax my hair, and you guys probably know when you're relaxing your hair, you put the relaxer on for too long and your hair starts burning. And this is, as a child, you can imagine this. My hair was burning. I remember it started burning me and I was hurting me. But I didn't want to say, oh, my hair is hurting me or my hair is burning, because I didn't want the hairdresser to feel bad. Yeah. I got back home and I told my mom, oh my gosh, mommy, that was so painful. My hair was burning. My hair was hurting me. Maybe I was probably like 7 years old, because I'm trying to think about, like, I'm 6 years old. I don't imagine myself being able to speak that articulately. But probably maybe 7 or 8, around that age. I was definitely in primary school. And I was like, Mommy, like that was so painful. She's like, why didn't you just tell me? Why didn't you just tell me that your hair was burning? You could have told the hairdresser to remove the relaxer, all of those things. And I was just like, I didn't want her to feel bad. I didn't want her to make her to feel like she was not doing her job well. My mom was so confused. Like, she's probably just thinking, like, what kind of child did I give birth to? Because children are always so vocal about these things, particularly anything that has to do with discomfort. But I was super, super, super cautious about hurting people's feelings and just not making people feel good. And I think that people have a lot of things to say about people pleasing. And for example, people say that, oh, like, why would you care about what people think? Like, just don't be a people pleaser. And it's not that straightforward. For a lot of us, like, it's something that is not even necessarily a learned behavior. It's something that is almost inherent and implicit to who we've always been. Like, I'm giving this example when I was 6, 7 years old. Like, I've always had the tendency to people please. Of course, as I've gotten older, in different ways, it morphed into, being a people pleaser in my friendships, in relationships, and, early days, and even in workplaces, like not knowing how to assert my boundaries and things like that, right? And, there's been a lot of evolution for me, but I think the first step was really understanding where people pleasing came from, seeing it, like being able to behold and see, wait, this is the reason why I people please. And then being able to now shift into, okay, how can I unlearn these behaviors? Because anything that has been learned can definitely be unlearned, right? And so this episode is all about that. This episode is all about helping you to understand perhaps the reason why you people please, and also helping you to, little by little, unlearn and, unlearn the tendency to people please, because it's something that I know that I wouldn't say I've completely, like, I have no single people pleasing bone in my body anymore. But I know that I just genuinely have improved a whole lot. I definitely am so much more assertive, so much better at asserting my boundaries, saying what I want, saying how I feel, communicating, being able to confront difficult feelings. It's not always the easiest thing, but I know that it's something I've gotten better in, and it took time to get here. Right. And so I think a very good place to start will just be understanding the reasons why we people please. So there's so many reasons why you might people please. One of the reasons, like I just shared earlier, is just that it's something that naturally, somehow through nature, not even necessarily nurture all the time, naturally you just have a predisposition to people please. Like, it's just something that you are more in tune to people's emotions, how they feel. You don't want to make people feel bad. You're someone who's naturally empathetic, and so you just kind of just want to make people feel good. You don't want to contribute towards any negative feeling. You don't want to feel like you are a burden, or you are being selfish, and so you overextend yourself because you want other people to feel good and to feel better, and not to feel bad, right? And so it could be something that is natural to you, in that you just always had that more, you just been very emotionally attuned with other people's emotions and feelings, and you just are very, very careful not to rock the boats, right? That could be one of the reasons why you people please, right? It could be natural. And for some of us, actually, it's not even natural. It is that you learned that behavior because, say, for example, you were a first daughter, and maybe you had to carry so much burden in your house, and one thing you were known for is like you're the responsible first daughter, you're the responsible child, and everybody saw you as responsible, and everybody saw you as someone that was reliable and dependable, and you didn't disappoint anybody, to a point where at some point your identity now became inextricably tied to not being disappointing, being agreeable, being the dependable one, being the one that you don't have to worry about, being the one that is always thinking about everybody else, but never really considering herself, right? And so it could have been the fact that maybe you were in a dynamic like that, and you just were that responsible child. I feel like this is also part of my own story. Apart from the natural, propensities to people please, I know that also just I was always like the dependable child. I was always like the good child, the child that you didn't have to worry about, the first daughter who was responsible and who you could trust, and all those amazing things. And somehow, I just started associating goodness with making people happy. And that happiness now started translating to not just my family, but also just people that were just people, anybody, right? I wanted you to have good things to say about me. I wanted you to like me. I wanted you to be able to not to feel like I'm not going to disappoint you, all of that. My identity started becoming tied to that, right? And funny enough, it's something that was reinforced by different things, because if you think about it, when I was thinking about it, my mom was always talking to me about not being someone who just allows anyone to step all over her, like allowing us being more assertive. When my mom was very assertive, right? And she would always talk to me about how, as a woman and as a girl at the time anyways, that, you have to learn to stand up for yourself, own your own voice, take up space, all of these different things, right? But I mean, then I just didn't understand like how to actually do it. Like it was just something that was difficult for me to do. However, it's something that I recognized that over time, my identity became, I'm just the unbothersome child. You don't have to worry about me. And it trickled into not just being the unbothersome child, but being the unbothersome person, the unbothersome friend, the unbothersome colleague where you don't have to worry about. And so that could be you as well. It could be the fact that, you just are that person who has been so dependable in your family and whatever it is, and you do not know how to disappoint people, and your identity has become connected towards that. And then you start people pleasing from that lens. Or it could be the fact that, you are not confrontational, right? You don't know how to approach conflicts. And the truth is that with people pleasing, you are usually trying to avoid conflict or avoid people feeling bad or having any issues with you or feeling like you did this to them or did that to them or disappointed them or you said no or whatever, right? And so that feeling of just feeling like you want to make people feel like, you are someone that they can trust, right? And you don't have to argue, you're not argumentative, all of that. Then after a while, it just becomes your own identity. You take that on as your own identity because you do not even know how to confront anything. And the thing that is so interesting about our body is that our body and our brain adjust to things. It adjusts to things that feel familiar. It just adjusts to things that you have always done in a particular way, that it just thinks like, oh, this is familiarity. So familiarity means safety. So our brain conflates familiarity with safety. So whatever feels familiar feels safe. And so if you've always done something in a particular way, if you've always been someone who was not confrontational, was the easy child, or someone who just didn't know how to confront people or didn't want to ever you didn't want to ever have the unpopular opinion or say something that would be dissident or people would disagree with, all of those things, then somehow that becomes familiar to you. And so anything that basically, opposes that identity, that safety, that familiarity that you have created within your brain makes you extremely uncomfortable. It's why for people who are people pleasers or people who, are struggling with people pleasing, like when you want to say no or set a boundary or tell your friend, oh, I don't like this or I don't like that, you feel as if like your nervous system is about to shut down. You feel so uncomfortable. Maybe your heart is racing. Maybe your heart is beating. All of those different things because that's how you feel. It's uncomfortable to you, right? But the thing about life is that whatever has been learned can be unlearned. If something no longer serves you, even if it's something that is natural and is inherent and implicit to who you are, you don't have to continue that thing. You can actually be able to say that, okay, I did this in a particular way. I was this people pleaser, and somehow I have also even associated my identity with just being someone that was agreeable, that was not, not, quote unquote, not problematic, all of that. Everyone liked me, whatever it is. And you now associate goodness to being liked. You now associate goodness to being agreeable. You now associate goodness to not ever having any bad or negative feedback to other people or never having to assert your boundaries. When someone says, do this for me, you're like, sure, why not? You don't even think about it. You just want them to be happy. And then when people, for example, they're like, oh, you're so nice. You're always so dependable. You're so this, you're so amazing. You're so wonderful. You're so kind. They say all these different nice things to you. And your brain is like, oh, that's good. Like, we're good. We're safe. This is good. And we continue to reinforce this identity that this is good. The way that I'm acting, the way that I'm being is good, right? And so that's just some of the reasons that people please, right? It's so many different things. It's like your body just panics because it doesn't know how to not be this person. And so a very interesting nuance here that I think that, as I was reflecting on this, I just also identified this, that sometimes as well, because of the fact that for a lot of us who maybe are Christians or, have this belief system of like, obviously being kind and being good and all of that, and, being raised that, oh, you should treat people with kindly and with respect and all of that, sometimes we actually just conflate that religious politeness with authentic kindness. And we think that, okay, because of we want to be kind people and compassionate people, it means that we can allow people to do whatever they want to us and walk all over us and treat us anyhow because of we just want to just. But that is dishonest. That is more so us trying to preserve our other people's perception of us more than it is us actually being those people. Because think about it. How many times are you people pleasing and someone's asking you to do something, and instead of you to actually approach it in a way that's, oh, okay, like you're actually being honest and telling them, oh, I can't do this, or I can do this because of this. Instead, you're saying something like, oh, yes, sure, I don't mind. But then in your mind, you're angry. You're upset. Maybe you're even insulting them in your mind. You're even like, oh, this person is so selfish. They're so inconsiderate. Why are they always putting me in this tight position? But then guess what? Boundaries teach people how to treat you. So if you don't tell them, oh, I don't appreciate this, or I don't like this, or I can't do this, or I don't have the capacity to do this right now, or I don't appreciate how you spoke to me in that way. If you don't do all of that, they will assume that you are fine with this. And you are teaching them how to treat you. You are teaching them how to handle you, so to speak. I remember in my own life, like I've had a lot of people that, particularly when I was younger, and I would say that, I have come a long way, right? But particularly in my teenage years, and when I was like my first year of uni, I felt like I was I was my peak people pleasing era. And secondary school as well, definitely. And people who had very, very like domineering personalities, I find that those are the people that brought out that people-pleasing tendency even more from me, because they would just ask for things, they would just demand for things, they would just expect things. And because I didn't know how to say no, it would be very, very hard, and my nervous system would be always so uncomfortable with those people, because I'll just be like, okay, I don't know what they're going to ask me to do right now, but I feel like I have to. And isn't all this happening on a very subconscious level, mind you. I'm not really thinking, oh, like, I'm about to please this person. Like, I'm trying to please, like, obviously not. It's more so that I just do not know how to say no. I just do not know how to be the person that pushes back, or be the person, or is the person that articulates and advocates for themselves, articulates what they want and advocates for themselves. I didn't really know how to be that person because I did not have much practice. One thing about anything that has to do with character development and personal development is that sometimes training yourself would look like you doing things completely different from what you always known, because your body is not failing, right? It is just trained. And so when you are trained to do things in a particular way, for you to in any way evolve or change that particular trait, whether it's people pleasing or whatever it is, you are going to be extremely uncomfortable, right? But the discomfort is not a marker that you should stop. Discomfort is a signal that you are retraining your nervous system. Now, let me get into that a little bit. But the first step really to unstitching yourself on people pleasing is to first of all have awareness of why you're people pleasing. I share some of the examples that could be the reason why you're a people pleaser, but there are a lot more examples. Like, there's so many different contexts, right? And I'm someone that I'm very interested in like psychology and understanding how the mind works and how our brain works. And so I just always do my own research on these kind of things, right? And so you can also like do your own research and see like, okay, what are the things that actually even make me people please? Is it because of the fact that I do not know how to handle confrontation, or is it because of the way I grew up and the way I was raised? Or maybe I saw my mom always, bending over backwards for everyone else, and I just thought and learned that was what was right and what was good and what was normal. Is it because of the fact that I've not, accepted my own self, right? Or I've not, loved my own self enough, and so I'm trying to get that validation and that love from other people. So, and so when I'm good to them, when I am supposedly good to them, or when I don't say no, and when I overextend myself for those people, they like me. And when they like me, it means that I'm good. And that is my own way of validating myself, or getting external validation that I'm not able to get within myself, right? That could be your reason. There can be so many different reasons, but you have to sit with it and ask yourself, what are the times that I people please? When do I people please? What triggers it? What kinds of people, or what kind of people do I people please the most with? Are they my friends? Are they family members? What is the context? That helps you to unpack and understand the layers in which that cause you to people please, right? And I very much believe in awareness. Understanding why you do something is the very first step to unstitch yourself from doing that thing, because then you now go to the roots of that particular thing rather than just dealing with the symptoms of it, right? Okay, I people please, and this is a symptom of how I do it, but what is the root cause of it? What is the root cause of it? Because understanding the root cause of it helps you to get closer to being able to stop it, right? And so understanding the root cause of it is the first step. And now the next step to unlearning people pleasing is definitely very, 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 very importantly learning to assert boundaries. And see, this boundaries word, right? Boundaries, there's a whole lot to say about boundaries. But what I'll say here is that your boundaries have to be aligned with your values. You have to understand and get very, very clear about what matters to you. Maybe it's your freedom. Maybe it's authenticity. Maybe it's integrity. What are the things that are the values that matter the most to you? And what are the non-negotiables for you? In the way people talk to you, in the way people treat you, in your relationships, in your work, in different things. What are the values? What are the things that matter to you, right? And when you get very, very clear on that, what are the things that you actually don't want? What are the things that people do to you and you accept, but you actually do not like? Start noticing those things. A lot of growth is awareness. A lot of growth is paying attention to the things that sometimes feel like you're just on autopilot mode, but you have to understand, where does this come from? Where does this stem from? Why am I acting that way to that person or in that context or in that situation? Am I afraid? What am I afraid of? What is that fear? What is that fear trying to tell me? Right? Understanding all of those different things. And then creating these boundaries, right? For example, a boundary can be that if someone tells me, okay, like I want to maybe spend money that you have not budgeted to spend. My boundary is that a value I have is financial wisdom and just being financially responsible. And I'm not going to spend money on that particular thing. Maybe it's an outing like my friends have planned and all of that. But I'm not going to spend money on that particular thing because of the fact that I have this value for taking care of my finances better, right? It could be that. Or it could be the fact that, somebody is trying to get your number or talk to you and you do not actually feel comfortable talking to that person, right? So a value for you is that you want to be able to choose the relationships that you have in your life and not allow yourself, not everyone deserves access to you, right? And it's not from any kind of like, I feel too good, I'm uppity. But it's the sense of like, of course, like you don't have to allow yourself to be open to everyone. And openness here, I'm talking about in terms of like into your safe space, into like having, that access to you that you do not want, right? And so that is a boundary for you. Or a boundary for you is, for example, like I don't want to respond to work messages by 9 p.m., right? And I know that boundaries is in the office workplace is a whole other dynamic because there's now a place of like, obviously, like, there are power dynamics that make things a lot more complicated. But still, that's also a boundary. It could also be that. And if you never ever set that boundary, people are just going to take advantage of things that you've never ever set in the first place. So what are the boundaries that you have? What are the things that are non-negotiables for you? What are the things that matter to you? What are the things that make you feel good? What are the things that make you feel uncomfortable that you have allowed, but you actually are not comfortable with those things? Write them down. And I'm not just saying write them down because of fun, but actually write them down. Learn to understand yourself, right? Spend time noticing these things and paying attention to them. Write them down. These are my boundaries, right? And it's going to first of all feel like, oh, okay, like I'm being so extra. But girl, or boy, whoever is listening to this, you need to be extra about the things that matter to you because nobody's going to do that for you. Nobody's going to set that boundary for you until you do that for yourself. And so set those boundaries, dictate what matters to you, and then start with small, setting those boundaries in low-stake environments. Say, for example, it's very difficult for you to say no to people, generally. You find it very hard to say no. It feels as if like you are literally tearing the skin from your body, right? How about saying no to a very close friend that you trust? Try with that person, first of all, someone that you are very comfortable, that you feel safe with. Maybe you're not as comfortable saying no to another person, to maybe a partner or... actually, if you don't feel comfortable saying no to your partner, that's a very, very red flag, very, very big red flag. But that's another story. But say, for example, you don't feel comfortable saying no to some particular people who are authority figures in your life, right? Or in whatever way, maybe an older sibling, or whatever it is, and you feel very, very afraid to set boundaries around that person or whatever it is, right? Try with someone who you're comfortable with. Say no. Say, and say no without explaining yourself, because that is a tendency with people that are people pleasers. We don't understand that no is valid. We think that we have to explain to you why we are deserving of our own no. No, you don't. Right? Of course, and this is not to say just be telling people like no explanation and just be acting somehow and acting all brand new and not giving people the respect, right, to explain and talk through things. Definitely not that. But in the sense that sometimes, like, if someone says, oh, do you want to do this thing? Oh, you don't have to explain, oh, I would have loved to do it, though, but I couldn't, and you now make a lie and make an excuse. Why did you just say, oh, no, I don't want to do it? I don't feel like it's not my thing. Get comfortable with owning the things that are not yours. You do not feel comfortable with that thing. Okay, other people feel comfortable with it. You do not feel comfortable with it. Other people believe or think this particular opinion or have this particular opinion. You don't have this particular opinion. Get comfortable with saying, oh, I don't agree. And the thing is that it's going to feel initially when you start doing these things, right? And I'm speaking from experience. Everything I'm saying here is from experience because, trust me, I went through that discomfort of saying no, having to advocate for myself, all of that, right? It will initially feel very uncomfortable, but continue doing it. Continue doing it. Start in low stakes environments and then build your way up into higher stakes environments, right? Tell no, small no's, right? Because everything you do not say no to, everything you say no to is a yes to what you actually want. So think about it from that lens. Like, okay, if I continue saying yes, right? And people who are eldest daughters or who are, all of that, we know that this is a thing that we struggle with because we are supposed to be dependable to our parents, to our siblings, to everyone. And so it's very difficult for us to think that we have the right to say no. We think it's selfish. Like, who are we to want things for ourselves? But who are we not to? Who are we not to dictate the things that we do not allow into our lives, right? And it is so, like almost radical when you are someone who's a people pleaser to be able to say that, oh, I want this, I like this, I don't appreciate this. It feels strange. But guess what? The more you do it, the more you are training. Remember what I said earlier about how you're training your brain? The more you're training your brain that, oh, wait, like this thing that is uncomfortable to me, like it feels unfamiliar. Wait, I'm safe here too. Initially, your brain thinks that, okay, people pleasing and making everyone feel happy and all of those different things and walking on eggshells around everyone is safety because it's familiar. When you start doing this uncomfortable thing, when you start saying no, when you start setting your boundaries, when you start pushing back and advocating for yourself, initially to feel extremely uncomfortable, sit with that discomfort. It's okay. That is something that I think was a very, very big learning curve for me when it came to people pleasing. Like that feeling that your nervous system feels like it's about to crash because you said a no that you didn't want to say and you feel like you need to explain yourself and you feel like, oh, can I say this to that person? Can I sit with that? You're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel maybe a bit anxious, all of that. Stay with that feeling. Stay with that feeling. And in those moments, remind yourself of your why. Remember I said that you have to get very, very, very clear on things that matter to you and your values, right? Get very, very clear on the why for the different boundaries that you have in your life, right? And so when you feel you have those rush of emotions and that rush of anxiety, remind yourself of your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you saying no to this thing? You're saying no to that thing because you want to be able to learn to be more, to advocate for yourself more. You want to learn to be more self-assured. You want to learn to take back your own agency, right? You want to be comfortable in your own person. You don't want to seek external validation. Whatever that reason is for you, remember it. Bring it back to mind in the moments where it's difficult, where you feel, tempted to people please. Remind yourself of your why because it makes things, it contextualizes things in those moments where the natural thing to do is for you to just be like, okay, let me just do what everyone expects of me. Remind yourself of the reason why you no longer want to be that person. You are not anyone's footmat. You are not. You are not anyone's footmat. And I know that you feel like you are a nice person. You want to be a good person. I said it a lot of times, and we've said it a lot of times in this podcast, that there's a difference between kindness and niceness. A lot of times, kindness is, or rather niceness is performative. Kindness is genuine. Right? You feel like, oh, I want to be nice. I want people to like me. That's why I want to be nice. But kindness, oh, I'm doing this thing out of compassion, out of love, out of that genuine desire to, right? If you're doing something, this is a very, very good way to even recognize if you're people pleasing or you're not. If you're doing something for someone and you think about it, if you really, really dig down deep, you ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to, or we are doing this because I don't have a choice? Or I'm doing this because I feel, rather, that I do not have a choice. Or I'm afraid of what the person will think of me. Or I'm afraid of the person not accepting me. Or I'm afraid of the person feeling that I'm not a good friend or I'm selfish. If that is your reason that you're people-pleasing, my dear, you are. You are people-pleasing. Because people-pleasing is, you are trying to almost protect an image of yourself Remember what I said earlier, that you are easygoing, you have no problem, you're unproblematic, all of those different things. You're trying to protect that image. And so because of that, those feelings are, you're doing those actions not because you actually want to, but because you feel like you should. You feel like if you do not, that person is going to feel uncomfortable. And so you have to be able to tell the difference. Because there are things that you're going to do, and sometimes for your friends, it doesn't mean that you're not going to do nice things for your friends or go out of your way to do things for your friends. You still will. But are you doing it in those moments because you actually want to or because you feel like you have to? When you feel like you have to, don't do it. Remind yourself of the fact that you are someone who deserves to be authentic, to be genuine, to do things and to actually do things from a real place. Because you don't want to be resentful. You don't want to wake up one morning and be like, oh my gosh, I've done so many things for this person and they don't appreciate me. Because guess what? They don't even recognize that you are even overextending yourself for them because they just think that is just how she is. That is just how he is. Always so nice. Always so good. Oh my gosh, I can literally message her at 4 a.m. and she'll run out of the door to come and lick my leg. Whatever it is, right? That is the image that you're projecting to them. And so they don't even, a lot of those times, they don't even, some people actually take advantage of it. Yes, they're narcissists that try to take advantage of what they perceive as weakness. But for some people, they actually don't even recognize that they're even taking advantage of you or taking you for granted because you just have not asserted those boundaries. And so they just feel like, okay, I mean, this is just the person that she is, right? But is that the person that you are? Is that the person that you are trying to tell yourself that you are? Or that you have to be? That is the difference, right? That is the nuance there, right? Stop trying to be liked. Allow yourself to be known. Let people know you. Let people be like, okay, Kamsi is the kind of person that, Kamsi, she doesn't like those things. She doesn't like when you do that. And it's so interesting now, that when people talk about me, like they're like, oh, Kamsi doesn't play with boundaries. Kamsi doesn't play with that. Like that is how they know me now because I've reinforced a different identity. I used to be someone that they would just think, oh, Kamsi, she's just so good. She's also this thing. But I was doing a lot of those things because I felt like I don't want this my friend to not feel like I'm a good friend. Or I don't want to. And all of those different things are ingenuine. And I do not want to be an ingenuine person. I don't want to be disingenuous. I want to be someone who actually does the things that she does what she means to do. Right. And, is intentional about her actions, right? And just going back to all of that discomfort is normal. That feeling that you feel when you're trying to assert a boundary that is uncomfortable for you or advocate for yourself, that feeling, that nervous system tensing up or you feeling like, and then because of that, you want to run back into just saying, oh, don't worry, no, it's fine, I'll do it. No worries. It's okay. Just don't worry. Don't worry about it, please. That is you trying to run away from the discomfort. Embrace the discomfort. The more you embrace that discomfort, that feeling that you feel, the more you are training your nervous system, the more you're training your brain that asserting your boundaries and saying no and, doing all of those different things that is normal to you. And you are reinforcing a new identity. A lot of the work with unlearning people pleasing is actually reinforcing a new identity. I am someone that has boundaries. I am someone that advocates for themselves. I am someone that takes up space. That is a new identity that you have to reinforce by new actions. And so those old things that you used to do that you thought made you can unlearn them, right? And it's only by embracing the discomfort of doing the things that are not right now natural to you, right? And so let your nervous system crash. When it crashes in those moments when you feel like, you feel as if you just killed yourself because you just said no. Stay like that. Remind yourself of your why I'm doing this in the first place. Sometimes maybe in those moments, just maybe, and also hesitate to answer or to respond. I think another thing here is that we feel like we have to give an immediate response. Someone asks us to do something, we have to be like, okay, say yes in that very moment. Why don't you just say, for example, oh, I'll think about it, I'll let you know. Let me come back to you. That allows you to be able to reframe yourself. That allows you to be able to regain yourself, regain your grounds, think through even how you want to approach it, right? And so that you do not have to do the natural thing that is just to say no or to agree. Take a step back, take a micro pause to allow yourself to actually put yourself together and do what you actually want to do. Think in those moments, do I actually want to do this for this person because I genuinely want to out of a place of kindness? Or am I just doing it because of I want to make the person feel good or be happy with me? Am I performing niceness? Am I doing it because I feel like I should? If you feel that way, think again. Revisit that emotion, revisit your why, revisit your boundaries, right? And then act in accordance to that. So very important. Another thing here that I also think is so important is you have to learn, for my people pleasers, you have to learn to accept imperfection. I think that this is something that a lot of people who have struggled people pleasing as well, they are trying to almost control the narrative people have in their heads of them. And not just that, but also try to control the person that they want to mold themselves into. You want to be this person who is perfect, who nobody ever dislikes, who nobody ever has anything bad to say. I remember when I was younger, I would literally think that, I don't want people to have bad things to say about me. I don't want someone to meet me or meet Kamsi and say, for example, that, I had a very bad experience with Kamsi because she said this to me or she did this to me and she did and whatever it is. And because of that, when people do things that genuinely upset me or genuinely hurts me, instead of me to confront that, I don't like this, I didn't appreciate this, I didn't do this, I would rather ignore it and try to say things that try to just keep the peace, because I didn't want them to have negative experiences with me. And I can tell you so many examples in my life where I would do that. So I'll hear, for example, a supposed friend say something negative about me. And instead of me to just confront it, I'll literally just go to the person. I'll try to make it seem like, I understand that you didn't mean to say that. Why? Why are you trying to do that? Because you're trying to control this image that you have constructed for yourself. The good, agreeable, unbothersome girl or person, right? And you don't want to be imperfect in anybody's eyes, including your own. And because of that, you are being dishonest to yourself. It is okay for people to have not so nice things to say about you, right? And what I mean by that is I'm not saying that going around and just being a negative person to everyone and treating people badly or being disrespectful. I'm definitely not saying any of that. And that's not something that I'm aspiring to be. I want to be this person that's just going around being no, not that. Definitely not that. But someone upsets you and does something and does you wrong. It's fine for you to be able to confront that and be able to address it, right? Yes, you are trying to keep the peace, right? You don't want to have issues with people, but it's not that. This is not you trying to look for trouble. Somebody did something that is wrong to you. Express that you do not appreciate it. Express your dislike for that particular thing. Sometimes you have to clear things out and clear the table and clear the air. Sometimes you have to tell people no, don't do that. You have to tell people and show people how to treat you. Because if not, they will do it again and again and again and again and again. Right? There's something I said in that 20s episode that my mom used to tell me this thing that you have to not allow other people to step all over you, because they will step all over you again and again and again and again. And you convince yourself that you like to be stepped on because you have told yourself that you're this accommodating person, nothing gets to you, nothing. But then deep inside, there is resentment simmering underneath that is literally just waiting to bubble up to the surface. But you are just suppressing all of those emotions. It's why a lot of times people be oh my gosh, I didn't I was friends with this person for so long and I did so much for them and I bent over back for them and they did not even appreciate me. That person did not ask you to do those things. I'm so sorry. I have to say it. They didn't ask you to do those things for them. And so if you are doing things from a place of, I want to do this for you out of love, out of kindness, you wouldn't feel that resentment because maybe you are doing those things because you felt like you had to. And so if you're doing things right now and then and you feel like you don't feel appreciated for those particular things, right? At the end of the day, you are not doing these things for transaction. I want to do this so that person can do this back for me. You're doing it because you want to do this for that person. But if you do not want to do things for people and you just do things out of that people-pleasing tendency, then it's going to really, really hurt when, for example, you feel wow, I did this for them, but when it was my own turn, they set their own boundaries. They said they couldn't do this. They told me that I didn't have time. After everything I've done for them, no, you just did not have enough, honestly, and this is what I had to tell myself, you just do not have enough self-respect to assert your own boundaries and make yourself comfortable within your own life. You are accepting being a pawn in other people's lives and you don't allow yourself to be oh wait, I don't actually appreciate being treated like this or being talked to like this or, just even anybody having this kind of relationship with me. I don't want that because I'm teaching myself, I'm telling myself that this is what I deserve. And I don't deserve that. I don't deserve to be treated that way. And a lot of people please, I think also what helped me a lot here was also really, really, really learning to love myself, to really fully love myself, to radically accept myself. Yes, I'm imperfect. Yes, I have flaws. But do I appreciate, can I look at myself in the mirror and say that, you know what, like in all my imperfections, I like who I see. I like the person I am. I like the person that I'm becoming, right? And so in line with that, I'm okay to say how I actually feel, to like what I actually like, to dislike what I actually dislike, to honor who I truly am. It's okay to do all of those different things because I like who I am. And so a part of people that we don't talk about sometimes is that it also comes from a lack of complete self-acceptance. You've not fully accepted your own self. And so you want another person to accept you for you. And so you think that if you make them like you, they will give you the acceptance that you need to find within yourself. It needs to work the other way. You need to accept yourself first and then show other people how to treat you because of the fact that you already accept and love your own self, right? And so it's very much an identity layer, an identity issue. You have to reinforce that you are not the person that can be walked all over. You're not the person that has to, contort and bend and shape shift to fit everybody's whims and everybody's ideology and everybody's likes and what they want you to be and what the expectation and all of the different things. Like, who are you in all of this? What do you even want? When I was really on that journey of stopping my people pleasing and really wanting to not be a people pleaser anymore, I remember that there'll be people that I would feel like, okay, I don't feel as close to this person anymore because I feel like they are not as comfortable with me anymore. And why were they not comfortable with me anymore? Because I started saying no. I started advocating for myself, and somehow the dynamics that they were used to was me being okay with whatever they had to do, doing things that I was not comfortable with. Like, I remember being in university, and I remember being my first year of university, and I remember I had such bad boundaries with, for example, even just people coming into my room at odd hours. I would be uncomfortable with it, but I didn't know how to tell people I'm actually not comfortable with you coming into my room at this time, or this. I have a roommate. I don't want. It's uncomfortable for me, but I just felt like, let me just accommodate it, and I'm the one inside upset, but I just think that this is just what it is, right? Who at the end of the day is at loss here? It's always me. You are always the loser here. When it comes to people pleasing, you are always the one that loses. Everybody else, you are literally outsourcing your own agency to them, right? So imagine if you allow yourself to believe that I can actually stand up myself by incrementally making these small decisions that over time literally just snowball into you now becoming this person that knows that, wait, I can actually do this. Like I said earlier, the more you do these things, the more you reinforce these habits, these behaviors, assert these boundaries, say this small no's, assert these boundaries here and there, the more you are telling your brain, telling yourself, telling other people that this is who you are now. And then the more you do that, the more you start believing it. The more you start accepting that this is who you are now. And the more you even realize that, wait, these people that you thought that they would not accept you, a lot of them will adjust. Even the people that even love you would be like, oh, it's fine, no problem. The people that even, for example, maybe they're not used to seeing you like this. They might say that, you have changed though. But it's okay. Allow them to say that you have changed. You have changed. You are evolving. It's good. For people that you even trust, you can tell them that, I realize that I'm a people pleaser and I'm trying to get better at actually asking and advocating for myself and saying what I want. That is part of it. Communicate. Say the things that you actually mean. Communicate. That is something that is so important. You have to learn to advocate and communicate what you actually want for yourself. Right? So important. So guys, that is really what has helped me to stop people pleasing. A lot of people that know me now, the people that know me now that are in my life right now, my friends, they wouldn't consider me a people pleaser. Particularly people that met me now. They wouldn't think, oh, Kamsi is a people pleaser, because I have reintroduced myself to them. Because particularly the people that never knew me when I was younger and when I was in my people pleasing era, they never knew me as that, because in fact they knew me as the boundaries girl. The girl who, I'm sorry, I don't do this at this particular time. I don't work from this time to this time. I don't do, they knew me as that boundaries girl, right? And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that, for example, even with work, it doesn't mean that sometimes, I wouldn't go over and beyond for things that I want to do with work because of the fact that I'm trying to build my career. And when you're trying to do something like that, sometimes you're going to do a lot more than you actually think that you need to. So don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that, don't be so strict and do not create these rigid boundaries. But at the end of the day, guess what? It's about what you value. Some people don't value as much, oh, okay, I want to, for example, be this person who wants to be very, very, very dependable in my work because I value more freedom. Freedom is a value to me more than, for example, career progression. And, I'm not going to tell you what you can value. People have their own values. You determine and you dictate your values for yourself. But according to your values, let your boundaries align with your values. Let what you say, let who you are align with the person that you want to be, right? And so, guys, that is really what I've learned from this journey of no longer being a people pleaser. I don't claim it anymore. People pleaser. X. And so, guys, like, what have you learned from unlearning people pleasing? I want to hear from you. Like, if you're watching on YouTube, share in the comments section. Let me know, like, what has that journey been like for you? How have you learned people pleasing? How have you unlearned people pleasing, rather? What was the reaction, or what are the reactions people that encountered you when you were trying to set boundaries? Like, what are the things that went right? What went wrong? I want to learn. I want to hear from you guys. Like, what are the things that you've learned? And also share, because another person can read that, and also it's to help them on their own people-pleasing boundaries journey, right? So yeah, guys, like, that brings us to the end of today's episode. As per usual, we always have a journal prompt to allow you to reflect and just take home everything that, we've said today, and also just to be able to, like, introspect and even understand and unearth the things that have perhaps prompted your own people-pleasing tendencies, right? To be seeing ritual over here. So today's journal prompt says, where am I choosing being liked over honesty? And what am I afraid will happen if I tell the truth? So, guys, stay with that, sit with it, journal your thoughts, your reflections. I'm so big on journaling. Like, sit with your notepad or your notes on your phone, whatever that is, and just introspect. Think about these things. And I'll see you guys in my next episode. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the support on this season of To Be Seen. And as we come to a close very, very soon, I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the support, the comments, the shares, just all of the love. Like, honestly, it has been overwhelming. And I'm so, so grateful that this episode have been connecting with you the way they have. I'm really, really, really grateful that you feel seen by them. That is literally like the joy of my life. Like, that To Be Seen is really being received in the way that I hoped it would have been received. And so I really, really appreciate you guys being on this journey with me. And thank you guys so much. And I'll see you guys in my next episode. Love you. Bye.